So functional versus non-functional requirements. We've touched on requirements elicitation on a separate video, but requirements elicitation is me asking really good questions from you to draw out, to elicit from you the information that I need. If you tell me I want to do this and this is how I want to do it, I'm going to go back and start asking questions because I don't trust your how. You hired me because I generally am supposed to know more than you. So with that in mind, let me start asking questions to figure out if you really have the right how, because the how comes last. I want to know what you want to accomplish. I'll help you figure out how to do it. You may have the right thing, you may not, or you may not have considered all the options. Your path may be fine, but maybe have you considered this? Have you considered that? Oh, you might make more money doing this, or you might reduce risk by doing it that. So those are the things that we want to do as consultants. We want to elicit what is it you're trying to accomplish? What are the important objectives? Who's involved? What objectives do they have? Who's accountable for what? Lots of things. It's a whole world of requirements elicitation, is a whole world of stuff. But ultimately, what we're going to come out with is the requirements. We're starting with the end in mind. We're aiming for that point. So what are the requirements? Well, I need to buy an investment house. Okay. And it needs to be in the state of Missouri. Okay. And it needs to cost less than $25,000 out of pocket to get into it and have a 12% cash on cash return. Fantastic. Some of those are functional requirements and some of those are non-functional requirements. Really, if you boil it down, functional is absolute must. Everything else is secondary. Non-functional is nice to have, but not required. So based on those things, I need to buy a house. I need to buy a house in Missouri. I need to spend less than $25,000 out of pocket, and I need a 12% cash on cash return. Which one of those, or up to two, is functional? Absolute non-negotiable.
Need a house.
No.
In Missouri, like,
No. We may not have quite enough information. It could be. So digging deeper is really going to help you determine what's functional and what's non-functional. Yes, it was a trick question. Yes, I'm going to continue dropping trick questions, and I want you to give answers because the best learning experiences from that book, Made to Stick by Chip and Dan Heath, one of the best ways to make people learn is to have them commit to a decision and then to rip the rug out from under them. So we don't know which of the four. Buy a house, buy it in Missouri, spend less than 25K, get at least 12% cash on cash return. We need to understand more of their story to determine which one. Typically, it's one functional. The rest is non-functional. So if I ask this person, what is it about the $25,000? Do you literally have no more than that? Or is that just your target spend? I'm probing. I'm trying to find out. Is this a hard stop or is it flexible? Well, I would like to stay under 25K for my first investment. Okay. Tells me right there. I'm not going to tell them that it's flexible, that it's non-functional. I'm not going to bother telling them, but I understand that's a flexible requirement. That's a non-functional requirement. It's something they've picked. But, okay, so why in Missouri? Well, I've already got a Missouri LLC. I've already got two properties, or no, because this is his first investment. I've already got a Missouri LLC. I don't want to waste that money. And then I promised my wife our first investment would be nearby. And we live in Missouri. So we agree that's going to be where we buy. Okay. Starting to sound a lot more like a functional requirement. He promised his wife needs to deliver. Okay. I might probe a little further to say, is she open to exploring neighboring states? Or is that like a hard stop? Okay. It's a hard stop. Great. I now have my functional requirement. That house must be in Missouri. And he needs a 12% cash on cash return. Let me dig into that. So you're going to spend 25K. Must be in Missouri if you're buying a house. See how I'm disqualifying it if you buy a house. Need a 12% cash on cash return though. What is that all about? Well, we're getting 10% in our retirement account. So the only reason to do real estate is to get more than 10%. Okay. So what if you lent the money? What if you could get 12 or 14% by lending instead of owning? Would that also satisfy your requirements? Actually, yes. I would love to lend on a house. Non-functional requirement, 12% cash on cash return. See, we're busting up they come in with all these specifics, and we just gently ask questions to really understand. Now, we don't tell them, because it's kind of insulting for you to come in, think you've got it all figured out, and somebody tell me, you don't have that figured out. That's backwards. No. But we need to understand these things so that we can manage the transaction with their best interests in mind. We use requirements elicitation, which is interview tactics. It's questions. It's telling them to put it in their own words, us regurgitating it back with a slight twist to make sure that we understand it, putting it back in our own words. And that's the job of a consultant. The consultant operates in that way, needs to understand. Because what's our proven process? First step, get a shared understanding. And that includes your wants and your needs. That's a good way to explain non-functional versus functional. Your wants versus your needs. I need one or two things. One of the two things, or one of the examples I use regularly is, what are the functional requirements of a car? What is the functional requirement of an automobile? There's only one. Get you from A to B.
Fuel.
Nope. Non-functional.
The motor.
Non-functional. Have you ever seen the Flintstones? See?
Wheels.
See? Wheels.
Wheels.
Non-functional. What if you're on a hill that's icy? You don't need wheels. Just slide. I mean, it would work. I'm going to bust up anything you suggest other than A to B. Because the car's job, do you have to have AC? No. Do you need windows? No. Do you need a roof? No. Do you need an engine? No, not necessarily. Could be pedal power. Do you need a drivetrain? I mean, kind of. Huh?
Get some horses.
Yeah. A car is short for carriage. A car is just short for carriage, yes. To get you from point A to B. It's a mechanism of transport. So the functional requirement for a car is to get me from A to B. The non-functional requirements are, I would like AC, please. I would like it to run and be fuel efficient, or who knows what. But that's a bit mind-bending to like just tear everything down to, no, you don't need anything you just told me. None of that is a requirement. Now, is it a functional requirement that the car get you from A to B safely? Make the case.
It would be mine.
Sure. What if there was a tornado and you were running and there was a vehicle left running, but the seat was covered in tacks or the glass was all broken? Would you still use the car to get from A to B when a tornado's chasing you, even though you know you're going to get injured using it?
Absolutely.
Yes.
So safety is, again, I mean, if you're dead by the time you get there, I'll give you that one. But I think safety is a secondary factor, a very important secondary factor, and a deal breaker for most people in most circumstances. But I want to get this to the extreme so that you understand the ultimate extreme real difference between a functional and non-functional requirement. For that car, the carriage, the transportation mechanism, you got to get from A to B. It could be that it's a little no-powered, tiny tykes little car that's got wheels. Hop on that sucker and ride it down a hill. You know, doesn't have to have jack squat, no steering, no nothing. You're going to get to the bottom of the hill, though. Maybe safely, maybe not. But if your objective is to get down there quick, you can do it. So functional versus non-functional requirements. A lot of times people come in thinking everything's a functional requirement. And if you can train yourself to say there's only one functional requirement and to be patient and to ask questions to figure out what that one thing is, everything else is secondary. Although there's a lot of really high priority secondaries, you'll do a lot better job as a consultant.